So you've diagnosed why growth stalled. You've developed a clear strategy and the board is aligned. 6 months later, the strategy document is gathering dust, teams are still operating the old way, and growth is still flat. After implementing strategy and OKR frameworks for many growth stage companies, we've seen the same change management mistakes kill transformation effort over and over. So here are the top 10 reasons why your change initiative will, and obviously we don't want it to, fail, and more importantly, how to fix them before they tank your transformation. So at number 10, you assumed everyone already knows change is needed. Here's the pattern we see a lot. CEOs think everyone knows we need to restart growth, so we can skip the urgency conversation. But agreeing that growth needs to restart isn't the same as agreeing on what needs to change. Without genuine urgency around the specific changes required, new processes, different behaviors, uncomfortable transparency, your transformation becomes a nice to have project that gets deprioritized the moment operations get busy. The fix, you've got to name the specific external threat or opportunity that demands these exact changes, not just general improvements. And number 9, your guiding coalition actually isn't really aligned. We've facilitated hundreds of executive strategy sessions, and leaders vastly underestimate how misaligned they actually are. When forced to get specific, which customer segments exactly, which capabilities will build first, what we'll stop doing, disagreements surface that were hidden by vague strategic language. A committee checks boxes. A real coalition does the hard work of genuine alignment before publicly launching transformations. So if your exec team hasn't had uncomfortable conversations about trade offs and priorities, you don't have a coalition. You have a group of people who smile and nod in meetings. At number 8, your vision statement and strategy is incomprehensible. We will leverage our core competencies to deliver innovation solutions that exceed customer expectations in our target markets. What does that actually mean? What would success look like? How would anyone know if you've achieved it? Visions and strategies fail when they're too complex, too vague, or clearly impossible, and you don't have that belief. An effective vision and strategy should be explainable in a few minutes and make people think, yeah, I can believe in that. I can see my role, not that big question mark of what. So if you require, say, a long slide deck to explain your strategy, there's probably a problem. Number 7, you vastly underestimated the extent of communication that is required. Here's what we see. Leadership announces the change in an all hands, sends a follow-up email, and maybe does a Q&A. Then they wonder why teams aren't changing behavior 6 weeks later. Successful transformations communicate the strategy using every vehicle available, not just formal announcements, but informal conversations, meeting agendas, decision criteria, and most importantly, leadership behavior. So if your executives aren't living the change visibly every day, people notice the gap between words and actions. And that gap kills credibility instantly. Number 6, you didn't remove the obstacles blocking change. When we audit companies, we typically find that 20 to 30% of organizational capacity is lost due to poorly designed meetings, unclear decision rights, and coordination friction. So that's not people being lazy. That's the environment making it hard to execute. You can have the clearest strategy and the best OKRs in the world, but if people are drowning in 7 hours of meetings per day with no decision authority, if escalation delays are killing momentum, if nobody knows who owns what, your transformation dies from friction, not resistance. Remove the environmental obstacles first. So, number 5, you didn't generate visible short term wins. People need to see that this change initiative is different from the last 3 that failed. When early wins don't materialize in 6 to 12 months, teams conclude this is just another corporate program that'll fade away. But here's the trap for CEOs trying to restart stalled growth. You can't manufacture fake wins. People see through that immediately. This means being surgical about which initiatives you tackle first, specifically choosing battles you can win quickly that also build towards larger capability builds and big goals. Executive alignment, that's a quick win. Meeting efficiency improvements, another quick win. Both build credibility while doing longer term capability work. Number 4, you declared victory after the first wins. One department adopts OKR successfully. You celebrate at the all hands. Email goes out. Transformation complete. Except 80% of the organization is still operating the same old way. Kotler's research shows this is where most transformations fail. They celebrate early wins as final victories and lose the intensity required to complete the change. You need those early wins for momentum. But if you position them as the finish line instead of the mile markers, people stop pushing and the transformation stalls right when it needs to go deeper. The board wants quarterly wins, give them that, but internally, keep the pressure on. Number 3, you only appealed to logic and you ignored human emotions. So the Heath brothers' research is detailed. Giving people rational arguments for why change makes sense isn't enough. Your human, logical mind, what they call the rider, might understand, but your emotional mind, what they call the elephant, is far more powerful. And when logic conflicts with emotion, emotion wins. Here's what this means for CEOs trying to restart growth. Everyone wants growth. That's not the problem. The elephant doesn't believe this change attempt will be different from the previous failed initiatives. That's skepticism, which is emotional, not logical. You can't data and PowerPoint your way through emotional resistance. Find the feeling, shrink the change, show and don't tell. Number 2, you neglected your middle managers. Senior leaders set direction. Frontline employees do the work, but middle managers, your 20 to 30 department heads and team leads, they translate strategy to execution. And here's what happens a lot. Executive teams get aligned, set clear OKRs, launch the transformation, and it dies at the middle layer. Why? Because those managers don't understand why change matters, can't use the new frameworks effectively, or remain skeptical that this will actually stick. They're simultaneously your most critical layer and your most neglected layer. So if you're not investing in manager training, coaching, and peer learning communities, your transformation stalls at exactly the layer where execution happens. And we're here. Number 1, you treated change as a special initiative instead of embedding it into your operating system. So this is probably the most important thing we've learned from implementing strategy and OKR frameworks within companies of all sizes, especially growth companies. Frameworks don't stick when they're treated as projects with start and end dates. Change sticks when it becomes how you operate, your regularly quarterly planning rhythm, your weekly OKR reviews, your monthly performance conversations. Think about it. When the quarter starts, does OKR planning happen automatically, or does someone need to organize a special meeting? When decisions get made, do people naturally use your strategy framework, or is it something that they pull out for board meetings? If it's not embedded in the regular cadence, it's not sustainable. So here's the reality. You're not implementing a change initiative. You're building organizational muscle, and building muscle requires consistent practice over time. It's not a 3-month project. The companies that truly restart growth successfully, they're building operating rhythms that make new behaviors automatic. The companies that fail, they run change as a campaign. Then they wonder why everyone reverts to old habits when the campaign ends. So there you have it. The top 10 reasons change initiatives fail, from someone who's watched these patterns play out dozens of times And the good news? Now that you know what kills transformation, you can design your change effort to avoid these traps. Start with urgency around specific changes. Build a real coalition, communicate relentlessly, remove obstacles, generate quick wins, invest in your middle managers, and most importantly, embed change in your operating system. If you're trying to restart stalled growth and finding that organizational change is harder than you expected, check out the resources in the description. And if that was helpful, subscribe for more practical frameworks on strategy, OKRs, and execution.